If you could live green, would you? I'm Nick Fedorov, host of Things Green, where we introduce nuggets of green lifestyle from gardening, upcycling, answering your questions, sustainability, even discussing environmental issues. You can become more confident in making the right decisions for you and your family. So come along as we are Things Green. What do you say we kind of get dirty in the garden today? Because isn't that what it's all about? Of course, one of the things we want to use today are gloves. In fact, anytime you're working in the garden, it's not a bad idea to use gloves because you just don't want to get them all icky now, do you? Besides, you don't know what's inside of the dirt when you're working in there. Well, for the record, dirt is under your fingernails and soil is what plants grow in. And what we're going to talk about today is recycling to the nth degree. One of the things that we do here at the thingsgreen.com Botanical Gardens is we reuse a lot of the soil that is in the garden for one degree or another. And the other night I was actually kind of working in the greenhouse because planting some seedlings, and I thought, you know what? This soil's a little coarse. I'm going to do something old school that my father taught me to do back when I was knee-high to a grasshopper. And if the truth was known, I really didn't understand why he was doing that. And when I come to think about it, it's because back in the 60s, yeah, I'm kind of that old. Back in the 60s, compost wasn't a real thing. People really didn't do a whole lot of it unless it was done on a farm, because anybody that has ever worked or knows anything about farming, they are the leaders in any kind of technology, regardless. Even though my dad was a farmer, maybe he did this when he was on the farm in Oregon. What he did was that he screened the soil. Now, I didn't say scream like, screened the soil. And the reason for this is that it takes a lot of the impurities out of the soil, breaks it down, and you get rid of a lot of rocks and such. So back in those days, what we did was that we took something like a screen, and the screens came in different sizes and holes, and this is just a piece of scrap that I had hanging around, and you could tell that the holes here are pretty tiny. And we would take shovelfuls of dirt, soil, and we would throw it through the screen into a wheelbarrow, then redistribute it back in the yard to plant flowers and plants because it made it real light and airy and fluffy. Well, I kind of want to do the same thing here today. And here at the thingsgreen.com Botanical Gardens, we also, every so often, will have like pots that maybe the plants have died. And so we'll just take them and we throw them into a big old bucket over here, and they'll be full of soil. And then when come time to reuse this soil, usually we just took and broke it up by hand or took an auger and busted it up. But again, we're going to show you a different kind of thing that's going to happen over here. So back in the day, what we would have done is we would have had a bigger screen than this, and then we would have laid it on a wheelbarrow and thrown shovelfuls against the screen, and the big stuff would roll down, the little stuff would come through. But for our purposes today, I don't need that. Actually, I don't ever need that. So we don't have to do anything fancy. Back then, they would take 2x4s and build 2x4s, make a frame out of this so it's real nice and hard. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to start off with just a big old bucket like this, and this is just a container. It doesn't matter what you use, just as long as you catch whatever it is. A 5-gallon bucket, a 15-gallon size container, doesn't matter. And then I decided what I needed is a piece of board, because I realized by just putting it on top like this just wasn't working. I need a little extra stability. So what I did was that I'm going to put it on this side. When I did it, I put it against me, away from me. I'm going to put this right here, and then I'm going to put this here, this screen right here. And now I can work with this and it's not going to fall through into my buckets. That's a very good thing. So the next step in this whole process is to get, as I said, material, and we have the bucket over here, and in fact here, I'm going to show you this. You see this? This is stuff that we screened out. So we had some dirty soil and we screened all of this big material out. Oddly enough, I'm going to take and throw this into the compost pile. It'll help with the compost pile because there's good bacteria in there, and then it will end up becoming good and viable soil again. This is still good viable soil, and I'll tell you a little bit later on when we go into the greenhouse. I'm going to show you something that I'm working on. But still, what we're going to do is that if you come over here and take a look what we got in the bucket, we've got just all kinds of just dirt. All right, so we take a handful of dirt of this stuff and we put it on top. And another good reason to have the gloves is because this stuff can really mess up your nails in your hands. Nothing worse than getting a pedicure that isn't working right for you now, is it? So take and roll it out like this, and you see all this debris that's left behind? Look at that. It's not going through. You got big clumps of rocks and such. We're just going to take it and dump it right in here. And we could either throw that back into the garden or, again, put it in the compost pile. So the process is just real simple. Another handful, we'll take and go like this. And you know, this is nothing that you worry about. In fact, what I do is I usually take and bring some tunes out with me. And I listen to my tunes. I get into my own little world, and it works out really nice that way. So another handful, and the process goes on like this. Now, when I'm ready to use this, you see these are really hard clumps right here. That's really not good to grow stuff in. So, put that there. So when everything is ready, what I do is I dump it into this container right here. And I'm telling you, this stuff is just so fluffy. And it's really super light. And now what I'll do is I'll do a couple of different things. Just for our purposes here, I would take and I typically would wash these out really well. See how grody looking they're looking, and they're just kind of nasty? Well, you should really wash them out. Use a 10% solution of chlorine, bleach water of some sort. You can dip them in there, rub them off, wash them, let them dry, then you can use them. So what we would do is that because this is a different kind of mix, and I usually plant stuff that's for in seeds, I'll simply just take this right here and I'd dump a bunch of soil inside, but I'm not going to compact it like you think you would. I don't want you to take and push and shove this down. What I'd rather have you do is take and put it on the table like this and just tap like this. Now, can you see how much it recessed? All right, let's do that to another one. So we just get a bucket. We're going to fill it up with soil. Oops. Fill it up with soil. Don't pound it down. Now you see it's kind of above. It's a little bit above like that, above the soil line. So let's take this and we're going to tap it down. And look at that, it's below. It's absolutely perfect. So then we could do a couple of different things. We would either put them back into these nice containers. I could take and plant a seed there, and then I would take a little bit of soil and throw soil on top just to cover the seed. Now, if you watched some of our some other shows, I should say, you notice that on a wholesale level in greenhouses, sometimes they don't even cover the seed. I like to cover the seed because it's just that little extra moisture. You know, in a commercial greenhouse, it's all about the science. Okay, so here's something else about reusing and recycling. You see these containers right here, these right here? Well, sometimes you may not be using these. You may be using other kind of pots. Why not keep these around and plant in here? You could do the same exact thing with pots and doing this. And it's absolutely perfect. So I'll tell you what do you say that we go into the greenhouse and I'm gonna show you how we use soil just like this. Okay, check this out. these are seedlings that I created. And the seedlings are from seeds. We have different things in here. We have cabbage, and we have some beets, and we have just different things. And how I know is that even though I don't have them labeled, I took pictures of everything as I went along, so I know what's in here. Like for instance, this thing right here, this is a mix that I'm going to be able to, they're microgreens is what they are. So this will all grow, and then I'll come through here with a pair of scissors, and then I'll harvest it, and then it'll grow again, I'll harvest it. We'll get several cuttings of the microgreens when it happens. So as you can tell, what I've done over here is I've taken, well, let's take this one. I've taken, these are what we call pot packs or 6-packs. Okay, so we have 6 individual cells. And if you look at the bottom here, hopefully I don't mess this up, see we have the 6 different cells. Look at these roots. You see these are the roots growing through the container right here that is coming from these plants. And look how tiny they are. Now these are going to have to get thinned out to, I believe these are cabbage. These are going to get thinned out eventually to only one plant. So in the plant world, it's all about survival of the fittest. The seeds were too small for me to do one individual one, but these right here kind of weren't. So if you look at this, we've got just one individual seed, individual seed. There's a couple, there's one right there. So when they grow, I'll be able to just push the whole thing out and pull it out. Now, as I mentioned, remember we did the tap, tap, tap thing and to get all that stuff down? The reason for that, especially for the seedlings, is because we don't want the compaction. We want the seeds to really for the roots, to venture into that brand new soil. And if it's got loose soil, they will grow faster. It's imperative that we keep everything nice and moist. We don't want to get it too wet. So I've been looking at this over the few days, and let me see if I can't find it here. I must have pulled it out. I think I took a picture of it. Maybe we can show you. But I noticed that I got one little itty bitty tiny mushroom, and so that told me everything was too wet. So what I did is instead of going watering 2 times a day, I went to 1 time a day, and I went from 3 minutes down to 1 minute. Now, is that gonna damage these plants right here? Because these need more water than my seedlings do, kind of. But I don't think so, because with the humidity that's in this thing, and by the way, just beat in here, I'm starting to perspire. So anyway, so what I did again is that I potted all these up, and look, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anyway, do the math, and as you can tell, it's a lot. All right, so one of the things that I wanted to show you is that remember that the holder, this is the holder here. What I did is that I made a little, I made planters out of these is what I did, little pots. I have plenty of pots. I just wanted to show how it works. And here I've got beets growing inside here. They're multicolored beets. And yeah, the ones in the center are a little bit taller, a little bit bigger. The ones over here are smaller because they have this little indentation right here. But yeah, it's going to look really, really cool. And then once again, after all I did is I just plopped the seed right on top, and I just took a little and I sprinkled it on. Now, I don't know what I got growing here. I don't remember. I'll have to look at my pictures. This hasn't germinated at all. Because a lot of the seed that I use is very old seed. Almost all my garden has been from seed that's been germinated, or seed that's 15 up to 20 years old. And it loses its viability every single year. It drops down 10%. So sometimes when I plant things, I don't necessarily know if I'm going to get anything to grow, but it's just the excitement factor of this whole process. What ended up happening after I did all this is that I did put nutrients. I put a fish hydrolysate. I did worm castings, and I watered it all in, because remember, this soil was used once before. So I put that in there to give it a little extra life, just in case if maybe the soil was 100% depleted. And that is how we recycle our soil, and also how we recycle recycle our containers, and we create new containers out of the trays, and we also could use the flats to grow microgreens. Thanks for joining me on another excursion of Things Green. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain so you can become exposed to a green lifestyle inside and outside of the home and community, all on your terms. Join me next time right here as we help you with Things Green.